Okay, so I've finished it. This was much shorter than I thought. This whole book is 4 stories, which I had no idea about. It doesn't say anywhere on the book itself that there's more than just the story of Breakfast at Tiffany's in here, but there are 3 more. So this was just 100 pages long. It was much shorter than I thought it would be, which was an interesting surprise, and I'm gonna read the others, just not right now. So, initial thoughts now that I've finished the book. I thought it was a good book. There are a few things that I've been thinking quite a lot about as I've been reading the book, and I kind of just want to touch on them now before I forget them. The first one is Holly Golightly, who is the character the story is about. Essentially, the very interesting thing that I experienced reading this character is that from the get-go, I did not like her. She's the kind of person that I would not have enjoyed being around, the kind of person that I would have found incredibly tedious and tiresome. And as the book went on, and the more you kind of get to know her and the more she got to know our other main character, it kind of toned down from me thinking she was obnoxious to me just thinking she was just really tiresome. But the whole time, I never disliked her, which is weird, and it's the kind of, I think, it's the same kind of magnetism I think the characters in this book feel for her as well. I think they all recognize that she can be a lot, but there's just something about her that draws you in. Something about her that keeps you interested. And I thought that was so cool that we as a reader, at least me as a reader, kind of got the same experience as the other characters in this story. I thought that was very interesting. Another thing though, but I think this is more me as a reader. As I said, I don't think I would have liked her in real life, but I didn't dislike reading about her. More than anything, I felt sorry for her. The whole time there was this, even like almost from the very beginning, I just felt sorry for her. And not like in a I pity her, but like more of a I hope she finds what she's looking for kind of feeling sorry for her. I wonder if other readers felt this too, but like I felt like you could feel that there was something missing, that she was seeking something, that she's looking for something and really struggling with it the whole time, like as an underlying thing the whole time, even though she's very carefree, takes every moment as it comes, doesn't think too much about things. The kind of person that feels like she's trying to live every moment as if it's her last, that kind of person. And yet somehow I just felt really sorry for her. I think it's because essentially, like, bottom line, what she wants more than anything is to belong somewhere. And like I can kind of relate to that, and I guess maybe that's why it struck me so much. I've moved around quite a bit, and so I'm kind of rootless. And that kind of thing has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages. And one of the things is like you're always searching for a place that feels like this, yes, this is home, this is where you belong. And so I kind of relate to her in that sense, and like I get the struggle with it. And that brings me to the second thing that I kind of wanted to point out is the title of the book, Breakfast at Tiffany's, why that's the title. And I don't know if this is a spoiler, so I'm gonna turn the book around while I talk about this, and then you can skip ahead if you don't want to be spoiled. Like I don't know if this counts as a spoiler or not, but I'll turn it back around when I'm done talking about it. Basically, she says Tiffany's, the store, is the place she's found where she's felt the most at home. It's like a comfort space for her. And what she wants most is to find a place that gives her the same feeling as Tiffany's does. I mean, that's what she says, essentially. Like, basically, that's what she says. And so making Breakfast at Tiffany's the title kind of indicates or like suggests that the core of the story is kind of meant to show Holly in the process of finding where home is to her. I guess it's her search for home. That's like the main thing that this book is looking to convey. Suggests that the main thing that the story is trying to get across is that this is essentially who Holly is. She's a rootless person, and she's just doing her best as she tries to find out where she belongs. And when you pick up on that as you read, you start seeing this is just a story of Holly trying to figure out where she fits in, where she belongs, and she's surrounding herself by lots of people, and she's constantly moving about. She's never settling down. She spends time away. She just kind of takes things on the fly, and it's that like desperate search that kind of drives her. And so I find it interesting that this is the title that Capote chose for the book. You don't go into Breakfast at Tiffany's expecting the story to be about a girl trying to find her place in the world. At least I didn't. I didn't think that. I thought this was just going to be a romance. And this brings me to the third thing, which I can turn this around now. Welcome back if you've been skipping ahead. The third thing that I want to touch on. I don't know if you can like read what this says, but it says the most romantic story ever written, and it's Alex James from The Guardian who said this. I struggle with seeing how Alex James came to that conclusion. To be honest, I don't find this to be a romantic story at all. I found this to be a lot deeper than I thought it would be, but not in a romantic, like not in the romantic theme. In fact, I felt like the romantic theme was very light throughout the whole book. It doesn't feel like the main theme at all. And I feel like I'm missing something. Like, I feel like there's a lot more there, and it's not about the kind of surface level romantic love that I was initially thinking about going into it. I feel like there's a deeper type of love there, at least in the sense of like a typical romance story. This was not at all. This was just not that. At least in my opinion, it really wasn't. I didn't find this particularly romantic, at least not in that kind of sense. So a very interesting book, not at all what I was expecting. It took a very interesting turn, a very unexpected turn for sure. But yeah, the book, not a bad way to end the 2023 reading year at all. It was definitely far more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Not that I thought I was going to be bored, but like it gave me a whole other story than I was expecting. An interesting one, but yeah, totally different from what I thought it was going to be. So this was unexpected. So, I finished the book. I talked quite a bit about what I thought of the character Holly, who is essentially our main character, who the story is about. And I feel like I talked quite a lot about that, so I'm not going to repeat everything that I said. But basically, I thought she was an interesting character because I started out finding her kind of obnoxious. By the end, my attitude towards her, or my impression of her, had gotten a lot milder. Throughout the entire thing, though, she remains a person that if I'd known this person in real life, I probably wouldn't have liked them very much. But again, the very interesting thing is, despite finding her to be that kind of way as a character, I found her interesting to read about. And I don't think I've ever experienced that before, where I've read a character who I find objectively kind of obnoxious, but at the same time, I don't mind reading about. So that was an interesting first. I also mentioned how, to me anyway, I don't know if this is like a universal reader experience or if this is just something that I kind of saw in Holly because I relate to her in this way, but I saw a girl who was trying to find her place in the world, a girl who is rootless, a girl who has nowhere to call home and is in desperate search of that place to call home. It tends to come with people who move around a lot, or people who just have been very on the go constantly, people who might not have particularly strong ties to the place where they come from. I don't know, there could be all kinds of reasons why someone feels rootless or why someone is searching for a place to call home. And so that element I related to, and I saw, I think that was when I started understanding Holly as a person a lot more than I initially did. And when I think my attitude towards her got a little milder because I started seeing what she was doing. And I think where it started was when she started talking about Tiffany's and the way she feels at this store. And I mentioned this too earlier about talking about the title Breakfast at Tiffany's and why I thought it was an interesting title choice for Capote to choose. Basically what Holly says is, what I've found does the most good is just to get into a taxi and go to Tiffany's. It calms me down right away. The quietness and the proud look of it, nothing very bad could happen to you there, not with those kind men in their nice suits. If I could find a real life place that made me feel like Tiffany's, then I'd buy some furniture and give the cat a name. Which, buy some furniture and give the cat a name is basically her way of saying I'd settle down, because she's living out of suitcases and refuses to give the cat. She has collected a name because she says, you know, we're finding our place, and until we do, I don't feel like I can name him. So basically what she's saying is that Tiffany's is her comfort space. The feeling she has at Tiffany's is a kind of like a place of safety. The way she's describing what she feels at Tiffany's is kind of what I'm, I guess, assuming is what she associates with home, what she wants to feel like home feels like. And so I said Breakfast at Tiffany's is an interesting choice because it suggests that the main theme of the story, or the main drive of the story, is the search for finding this place that could give her the same feeling as she has at Tiffany's. I assumed this would be a romance. It's not. I don't think, anyway. I think there's definitely love in the story, but I don't think that it's a love story, if that makes sense. I don't know why I assumed that this would be a love story. I mean, the little blurb on the cover doesn't help. It kind of gives you that impression, I suppose, but I just mean that I went into this expecting a kind of love story, a kind of just standard romance, and that's not at all what I got. I think I got something better, but I think that's personal opinion. What I didn't talk so much about last time I spoke about this book was the writing. There are some profound little bits here and there, and I want to read one. It's where our narrator compares Holly to a girl he knew once at school. And he says, "Earth and air could not be more opposite than Mildred and Holly, yet in my head they acquired a Siamese twinship, and the thread of thought that had sewn them together ran like this. The average personality reshapes frequently. Desirable or not, it is a natural thing that we should change. Here were two people who never would. That is what Mildred Grossman had in common with Holly Golightly. They would never change because they'd begin with their characters too soon. It would never be different. They would walk through life and out of it with the same determined step that took small notice of those cliffs at the left." And I just think that was written quite well, and it was, I don't know, I really liked that particular bit. And there are small little pieces like that spread throughout. And then the writing in itself can also be just really, really pretty. Here, Holly's the one who says, "It's better to look at the sky than live there. Such an empty place, so vague. Just a country where the thunder goes and things disappear." So although some of the language used definitely would not fly today, the writing in itself, the penmanship is lovely, I think. It's really, really nice. I just have one more little observation to share about this, and it's that it kind of, Breakfast at Tiffany's kind of reminds me and gives me similar vibes to The Great Gatsby, in that both of those stories, both The Great Gatsby and Breakfast at Tiffany's, are told by a narrator who is telling the story of this person they know, someone who's larger than life, someone extraordinary and carefree who drew people in, someone memorable, and someone who made a very strong impression on others, who captivated people, but who underneath all the glamour and personality was someone who was quite tragic, who was in a desperate search for something that was missing, something fundamental that they really, really want. I don't know. I feel like you could write quite a lot in comparison between these two books. The narrator, the narration style, the main characters themselves, some of the themes. I think there's quite a lot you could compare and contrast between The Great Gatsby and Breakfast at Tiffany's. Just a thought. But that's it for me. As always, if you have thoughts or opinions on the book or the movie, if you've seen the movie or read the book, then feel free to share those in the comments. If you took away other things from the story, then feel free to share that too. And if you haven't read the book or seen the movie, then I guess feel free to share your assumptions on the story. Will you be reading it? Will you be seeing the movie? But that's all from me this time around. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a really lovely day. I hope that you have a really great weekend, and I hope the book you're reading is a really, really good one. Bye!